Churchill, Innovator of Women's Health and Wellness, here tonight to discuss episode 2 of the Truth About Cancer series. And this one is more hopeful for me. You know, I haven't cried in my presentation tonight. It feels very enriching, and I hope that maybe I can point out some things that will encourage you to take a look at the documentary series. You know, the information that we're presenting is not for everyone. There's certain people that will believe in the body's own innate wisdom and the ability to heal itself, and they'll believe in the healing power of the earth and plants. And then there's other people that believe in, man's ability to copy nature. What I would say is that many of our pharmaceuticals, including our chemotherapy drugs, are copies of something found in nature. But anytime you make a copy, it's never as good as the original. And there's always a unidirectional approach, a non-specific, kind of like a shotgun approach that has one specific effect in mind. And I'll talk to you a little bit later about essential oils and how they're different. You know, cancer, I mentioned last night, is really a symptom of a disease or a disease process. The immune system normally keeps cancer cells in check. So if your immune system is taxed in some way, overgrowth of cells, which we call cancer, is usually the result. In order to orchestrate true healing, I think we have to change our definition of cancer. You know, in this documentary series, the researchers suggest that 18% of cancers are due to infection. 23, obesity. In fact, a number of years ago, I wrote an article for Optimize magazine talking about the link between obesity and cancer, especially here in Atlantic Canada. Parasites, candidiasis, or 41% is actually environment. So the cancerous tumor is the manifestation of the problem, like the tip of the iceberg. So if you cut off, chemically treat or irradiate the top of the iceberg, you still have a problem underneath, right? You still have that immune system issue. And Andre Moritz, M-O-R-I-T-Z, I'll put his link up here as well as the Truth About Cancer link, talks about this, extensively. Dr. Joe Mercola in this episode 2 talks about intermittent fasting as a way to slow and improve our cells. You know, if we're not putting energy into digesting our food, we're actually healing our body. So intermittent fasting for 16 hours at a time. Now, if you haven't fasted before, you're probably feeling a little shy about 16 hours. But imagine if you only eat, between, say, 9 and 5, then you have 16 hours, most of it you're asleep, that your body can be fasting and healing. So not only is it great for helping slow cancers or preventing cancers, one thing that you can do right now, only eat from 9 to 5, is also, it helps reduce inflammation, and it just gives you a boost of energy. It's, again, like turning on the self-cleaning oven overnight and waking up and feeling renewed and refreshed. So intermittent fasting. In this episode, they also talk about epigenetics. Now, Dr. Bruce Lipton was, I think, one of the first to mention this word. Epi means above, genetics, your genes, that there's certain factors in the environment, like your beliefs, the food you eat, the environment you're living in, that can turn on or off gene expression. So we're no longer held captive by our genes that, okay, my mother had cancer, I'm likely going to have cancer too. Your gene expression can be turned off or on by your environment. And then Dr. Veronique Desagnier was an MD who had breast cancer, and she's developed kind of a 7-step program that she talks about in this episode. First is letting food be your medicine, right? The Hippocrates oath. That the foods themselves can turn on or off gene expression. Detoxing, reducing toxic exposure, so whether that's chemicals in the water or in the air. Balancing your energy, she mentions acupuncture, chiropractic, meditation. Healing your emotional wounds, this is a big one. Your emotions are so much part of your disease process in your body. What's in your mind is really, your body is really a manifestation of what's happening in your mind. Candace Pert, who was a researcher who was nominated for the Nobel Prize in the 70s for her work on opiate receptors, talked about how when you're having an emotion, there's certain chemicals released from your brain that can get trapped in tissue. Chris Carr, she's written a book called Crazy Sexy Cancer Survivor, and she titles it Issues in Your Tissues. But your emotions, express themselves in different ways, and again, create attacks onto your immune system, which controls cancer. Biological dentistry, so dental amalgams, are a big source of mercury, as are vaccines. I mentioned Nicholas Gonzalez, Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, in last night's episode. But he was doing a lot of research with discovering the enzyme Nagalase, Nagalase, in vaccines that, were shown to cause certain cancers. So if you're looking for something to research, that would be another topic. Biological dentistry, herbs and vitamins, she suggests, as number 6, and number 7, true prevention. So, juicing is a great way to make sure you've got great nutrients in your system. Monitoring your vitamin D levels. We should have 1,000 international units of vitamin D3 for every 25 pounds of body weight to maintain a healthy and strong immune system. So prevention is part of the whole program. What else did we learn here? They talked about thermography versus mammograms. So mammograms in screening for breast cancer is actually radiation. So thermography may be a better solution, where we're looking at heat at the surface. And again, multiplying cells create heat and can be identified on a thermography without the extra radiation of a mammogram. Mammogram causing certain cancers. And my favorite, the essential oils. So essential oils are plants that have been distilled, steam distilled, or squeezed out the essence of the plant into a little vial. Now, in this particular segment, they talked about frankincense being powerful for increasing apoptosis, which is natural cell death that your body does naturally. And they quoted a study. I'm just going to see if I can find it here. It was a PubMed study, Complementary Alternative Medicine, December 2011. And I'll just read the title because it was amazing. The study, Boswellia, which is the active ingredient of frankincense, essential oil, induces tumor cell-specific apoptosis, suppresses tumor aggressiveness. So that was amazing. That's one of 4 studies that they mentioned where frankincense can actually help with reducing cancer cells. So I thought that was pretty amazing. The greatest thing, too, about essential oils is they're available to everyone. They don't have a high price tag, and they have what they call a homeostatic intelligence. Homeostatic intelligence. So that means, the same intelligence that's in this oil is in you and in the plant. So a plant, if you give somebody cinnamon, for example, it can bring their blood sugar up to normal if it's low, or it can bring it down from a high level to more normal. So it always creates a balance or a homeostasis. Like angelic oil can cause uterine contraction or relaxation depending on what the body needs. I mean, it's amazing. So in pharmaceuticals, you have a unidirectional approach. So it's going to elevate or decrease your blood pressure, for example. And it doesn't have a cell specificity. It targets everything. It's like a shotgun approach, where these essential oils can target, cell specific and can bring it up or down depending on what your body needs. Homeostatic intelligence. It's truly amazing. In plants, the essence of a plant, it can act as an enzyme, as a neurotransmitter, as a hormone, as a vitamin or mineral, or carrier of oxygen. So it does the same in you as it does in nature. There was a quote in this episode that I just love. It was a biblical quote. I think it was Revelations or something. It said, the leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations. I love that. The leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations. essential oils. So since I've been learning about essential oils, I have this frankincense, and it's in a coconut, fractionated coconut base. I carry it in my purse, in my little makeup bag. And I've been putting it on my nose because I had some irregular cell growth that I had burnt off my nose. So every night I put frankincense now on my nose. I also had a mole removed from my chin. And I had a patient, Joanne, if you're watching, I don't know, but Joanne told me that she removed a mole from her face just using frankincense oil and peppermint. So I wish I had known that, because now I'm just trying to remove the scar. But so every night I do frankincense on my nose and my little scars and my wrinkles. So instead of using expensive, cosmetics that contain carcinogenic substances, you can use essential oils and add it to a coconut base and create your own moisturizer, cleansers, and know that you're helping keep your cells healthy. So essential oils were in this episode. What else? Oh, the last thing, BEC-5 is a chemical that was discovered by Bill Edward Chan in Australia. BEC, it's his initials. And it came from an Australian plant. So what they found in Australia were the livestock were having these eye cancers. And the cow would move over close to this plant called the devil's apple and would rub its eye up against this apple, devil's apple fruit, and the cancer would disappear from the eye. So this Bill Edward Chan was asked to investigate what this chemical was, and he isolated it and put it in a cream and sold it over the counter. And he had over 70,000 people cure themselves of different cancers, skin cancers, using this cream. Of course, the Therapeutic Good Administration Committee, which is the equivalent of our FDA, came in and said, hey, you're causing too much healing. We need to give that a pharmaceutical drug identification number or something, and took it off the market and sort of disappeared. But if you look up devil's apple, it looks kind of like a lychee fruit with like spiky things on it. And two other foods that contain this powerful anti-carcinogenic property and can actually kill cancer cells, skin cells in particular. So the evidence shows sarcomas, adenosarcomas, squamous cell and basal cell carcinomas, it works beautifully. But the two other foods are eggplant and green pepper. So you can research this for yourself. So this episode was packed full of all sorts of different information. I've just covered little bits and pieces of things that really I felt were powerful for you to know. But again, do look up the link, The Truth About Cancer. And, it's a free documentary series. Each episode's up for 24 hours. And it's really about empowering you. I mean, in our mission, I guess, it's not to discredit, medicine, because there are times when you need chemotherapy drugs, or you may need surgery if you have a tumor pushing on an artery. You may die without it. It's just an opportunity to give you some other options that our pharmaceutical train may not know about or even suggest. So empower yourself, watch the documentary series above. And again, thank you for listening, for being here. I invite you to reach for the stars, envision and achieve your personal best, and most of all, enjoy the journey. This is Dr. Dina Churchill, signing out.